ladies. Welcome to the Purpose, Power, and Profit Society, and I am your host, Kimberly Smith, the Purpose Catalyst. This is your home where you will be able to identify your purpose, transform your pain into power, and activate your genius so that you can earn those coins. Welcome to the newest episode with Dr. Kyla Nicole. Yes. She is a full PhD, no honorariums here. She is Dr. Kyla Nicole from Kyla Nicole Speaks, and I'm so excited to have her join me tonight. And we are going to talk about the process from pain to purpose. Dr. Kyla, tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome to the Purpose, Power, and Profit Society.
Thank you so much for having me. And hello, everyone out there. I am so happy to be here. So excited to cover tonight's podcast where we're talking all about pain and purpose and some profits. It doesn't sound exciting, but I promise you by the time we are done, you will be stirred up.
Yes.
So for those of you who do not know me, as she mentioned, I am Kyla Nicole, CEO and founder of Kyla Nicole LLC, and I am a speaker, a professor, an author. I am a strategist, and I specialize in trauma coaching. So I have my hands in a ton of things, which is fabulous. And I simply love what I do. I'm able to work with small businesses all the time where I am building up their business from a policy standpoint, making sure their documents are in order, making sure that they understand that there has to be a process to things and an order in which you structure your business. And then on the other side of that, I get to coach and I get to really get all in people's business to figure out why they're not living their purpose, to figure out how they can overcome their trauma. And so I kind of, like I said, I get the best of both worlds, and it's exciting for me.
Oh my God, that's a lot, which makes me even happier to have you because now I don't feel like an anomaly. Yes.
Yeah. You're not alone, sister.
So we were talking, listen, before we started recording, y'all, we had a little talk. And we've come to the conclusion that a lot of jargon is out here in these streets. Dr. Kyla, would you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's all glitz and glam. No one really wants to talk about the process of entrepreneurship. Nobody really wants to talk about the process of how you get from A to B. And then, there's all sorts of foolery and, as you say, jargon that makes it all look good. But, there are some pain points.
Absolutely. And I think that there are definite internal pain points even before we start the business. Mm-hmm. Even while we're working to get the business off the ground, we're still kind of identifying who we really are and what makes us tick. So one of the things that's going around in our community is about the process. And I don't know if people really know what that means, what it looks like, and that it's okay to go through the process, and everyone should go through some sort of process to test their authenticity in their purpose. So I wanted to bring a full-fledged PhD on, because 1, it's hype, and 2, I'm getting mine, and 3, listen, I got smart people I know. So I wanted to bring in someone else to talk about what is the process, not even just as a business owner, because we know there's a process, your EIN, your LLC, your business license, all of that great stuff. But internally, what is the process? Because we know everybody is not built to be a business owner. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably is I could be vilified for that because right now we teach everybody is a business owner.
It is so true. My husband and I talk about this all the time, that there are so many people in the world that don't seem to understand that you're not all meant to be an entrepreneur. There are some people that have to be in certain areas to be pockets of influence. Mm-hmm. And the issue, when we associate there's two sides of it. When we associate entrepreneurship, we think, well, I want to work for my own and I want to be my own boss and I want to make my own money. But legit, that's not what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is solving a problem. It's bringing something to the world that is just not there already. It's walking out this thing that you're passionate about. And typically the thing that irritates you the most is the thing that you're good at, regardless if it's what you want to do. It's like, what keeps you up at night? When I talk to kids and I say, well, what are you going to go to school and do? And what do you want to be? And they're like, I'm not sure. And I say, okay, what problem do you want to solve? What do you want to contribute to the world? What is this thing that you think you can do better? So that's the whole entrepreneurship side of it. But as you were saying, there's a process to, life in general. It's like if we scale it, all the way down to the bare minimum and all the basics. We would say there's a process to life. And there are certain things that you have to go through. There are certain skills that you need to acquire. And there's a certain mindset that you need to have. It's like if you were to hit millions of dollars tonight, and you never learned how to manage your money, if you never learned those skills to, be able to invest it, it would be gone. Because just because you inherit $1 million doesn't make you a millionaire. Being a millionaire is a mindset.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing when we talk about the process of anything that we're going to accomplish or we're going to put ourselves through. There's a process, and for us, that looks very different, obviously, for each one of us. But there are several things that happen to all of us at different stages and times in our life that lets us know we're prepared for the next level of whatever that is. So I know for me, I remember going through grad school and my first year of law school and just feeling like, what is happening to my world, and because it seemed like it crashed, and it just seemed like it crashed overnight. And I didn't understand it. I was like, okay, I haven't sowed any bad seeds. I ain't screwed nobody over. I ain't stole nothing. Somebody tell me what is going on in the world. Like, I do not understand right now what's happening. And I really had to come to terms with that because it was alarming. I started to lose friends. I started to lose relationships. My finances changed drastically. I began to feel bad about certain decisions or certain things that I were making. I was just like, wait, what's going on? But I was going through the process, the process of elevating. And that requires us to separate from foolishness. And every level that you go through, people think, well, I already went there. Every time your life gets upgraded, you will go through this. It's, the old church folks say, the the bigger the devil, you know what I mean? The more issues you have, you're like, what? But it's true. The bigger the level that you are on, the bigger those things are going to come at you, the more targets you're going to have, the more issues you're going to have to work through, because you have to learn how to maintain. This life is all about maintaining, and we don't want to talk about the nasty, ugly, gritty stuff. We don't want to talk about what, we will preach, well, if they do you wrong, let them go. Well, what happens when you haven't been released to let them go? What happens when they do you wrong and you in your gut, you feel like you got to stay? Now, mind you, I'm not talking about toxic relationships or anything like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, what happens when you want to do something over here, but you're being pulled over here? So we don't talk about that. And so it's like every season of your life, you're going to go through things in the process that are going to force you to grow.
Oh my God, it is absolutely true. One of the things that hit me big about processing was the first one. Very first thing. Exactly what you said, like, what is happening? Why does it feel like everything is being pulled, taken? Everything that made me comfortable had to go. It was being swept away quicker than I could even bid it goodbye. And it was the awareness that there was a shifting. So I think that was the first part that made me realize that something was happening, that I was moving to a different area, was the awareness. And it was the awareness of the shifting and the awareness that I needed to shift. Mm-hmm. That there were some things about me that even needed to change to prepare for what was about to take place. Whether we know what's about to happen or not, like the truth is that the way you are today is not who you were 6 months ago.
Oh, right.
And it's not who you're going to be 6 months later.
Absolutely.
So how do we handle the awareness piece in understanding, what is happening to my life?
Mm-hmm. I think it's important for us to, figure out our surroundings. And when I say surroundings, I'm not talking about, your inner circle or, where you live and you're outside. In order for you to realize and become aware, you have to be aware of yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to know yourself. And sometimes we don't spend enough time knowing ourselves. So when things are hitting us and they're happening, we're unaware because we're not aware that these are even things that we have going on to begin with. And so it just looks like chaos. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's confusion, and it brings stressors and pressures, and no one ever stops and pauses and says, what's happening? And so I like to tell people that, there's chaos associated with progress. Mm. And, wisdom violated is chaos created. And so when you understand those things and you get it, you are able to pause yourself and say, okay, there's something happened. My schedule is thrown off consistently. I believe in grace. I was taught, years ago, my pastor taught on the unforced rhythm of grace.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? What are you talking about? But I started to realize it was that if I have to start forcing relationships, mm-hmm. if I have to, I go to work every day and suddenly my attitude changes about this and it's out the blue, there's not a particular situation that's occurred. I just feel my energy is changing. Mm-hmm. My finances, I use a system. And if all of a sudden it's like, wait, why am I unable to keep my finances going on? I got to go do some research. I got to figure out what's happening. That moment that we all get is because we're not aware of our authentic self. So we're living in this world and we're keeping up and we're comparing and we're looking around and we're, I got to do this because I got to do that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we're sticking in things because we feel obligated. We out of obligation, we stay there. So we're comfortable in this space because we feel obligated because of time, because of investment, because of, ritual, because of the family, all these other things. And you don't realize that you're doing yourself a disservice because it's like a closed hand. Can't get anything if it's closed.
Yep.
Like, in order for me to excel in life, I got to open up and I've got to be okay with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I have to realize that a part of success is constantly being uncomfortable because things are always changing. Mm-hmm. People are always changing. You're always coming in and out. And so the first thing that I tell people to do is that you've got to pause. Mm-hmm. So much can be alleviated in your life if you just pause. But we are the queen and kings of, I thrive in chaos. I'm great at last minute. I am awesome we thrive in, well, let me tell you, I had 100 things coming at me and I managed to it's like, wait, you're carrying things that you weren't even designed to carry. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole stigma with the whole, single independent business Black girl magic zone. Because it's like, wait, I understand that you can do this, but are you meant to do this? Mm-hmm. Are you made to do this? Because they're vastly different.
Vastly.
And so it's like step one, pause. Mm-hmm. And step two, you write down your list. Where am I at in these particular issues that I have? Be honest with yourself. If I used to love my job and then I hate it. Why? Mm-hmm. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
I used to be great at money management, but now I suck. I'm broke. Why? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
All of that can be discovered in just a quick pause. My relationships are changing. I am getting into it with more than I thought. Why? What happened? I believe in organic things.
Mm-hmm.
And, when things start to fall apart, we have a tendency to grab on and hold. And strength is not in you grabbing on and holding to something. It's actually in you letting something go.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually in you saying, you know what, we have been buddies for 20 something years, and we are at a place in our lives where we don't talk like we used to every day.
Mm-hmm.
I still love you. I still adore you. You are still awesome. But the more we talk, the more agitated we become.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? Our seasons are changing, and that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in a position for 10 years and I loved it. And now I feel stagnant and I don't know what to do or where to go. I'm not passionate about this thing anymore. And I know I'm supposed to do this, but that's a $35,000 salary decrease. What do I do? You pause and you say, hey, I need to make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
And you give yourself a plan. All right, well, I know I'm unhappy. I'm going to give myself 90 days. I'm going to stack these checks. I'm going to get down to my baseline and my finances, and I'm going to go, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so those are the first two things that we need to do. We need to pause and we need to write it down. We need to make a list. We need to see what's happening.
Those are good. I don't think we are as conscious as much as we yell and shout, stay woke, as much as we tag it. We are not conscious.
That is a whole nother podcast.
I mean, yeah, we're not gonna.
Because I'm telling you, you are all in my business. Because I told my husband this 2 days ago. I said, all these people screaming they're woke, they're actually very asleep.
I'm serious. We're not conscious of our behaviors. We're not conscious of our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
The thoughts that create the actions and the verbal cues out of our mouth. We're not as conscious as we would like to pretend that we are, because it is a farce.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are not that many conscious people.
I'm telling you. And I'll be brief on it because I don't want to make your listeners angry. But I always tell people I have the gift of pissivity. I piss people off. And it is fine. I'm okay with it. I've embraced my pissivity. But we were having this conversation about this whole Kanye thing. And this comment that, slaves were slaves by choices. And at first I was like, what is he saying right now? Like, I'm so confused. Did he not know we were over here on boats and chains and whips? But then, I started to really unpack that. I really started to think about that. And I said, I understand what he's saying. But I had to pause.
Mm-hmm.
I had to write it all down. I had to say, okay, wait, what is he saying? Because he can't possibly be saying what I think he's saying. And it's like, I get it. And it's I took it as, now listen, that might not be what he meant because I ain't talking to you. You know what I'm saying? But I took it as, what? Us as a culture, as a person, as a being, we have a very difficult time standing up and believing in something of ourselves and actually fighting for that cause.
I think now, yes. I think
we have a very difficult time doing that.
Yes. I think now there is a mental bondage.
Poverty.
Yes, absolutely. And I will agree with that. But when he said it about 400 years worth, sir, they were physically shackled.
Listen, they would have had to kill me though. You understand?
Excuse me. My people came over on the boats.
Listen, I told my mama, I wouldn't have been a good slave.
No, because I've been going.
They killed me. You want me to do what?
And then I also think, one of the things that my grandmother used to say is generations get weaker and wiser. And I think then maybe that was who they were at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a total culture shock.
Yeah.
It was total, like, what is going on?
Preservation.
Taken by surprise. Right. So it was survival. The things that they saw, there's no way I would have been able to see that through the Middle Passage. You could not have caught me on that.
Right.
I'm done. But I think then and now, like, I love the fact that he tried to bring it up to modern day. That's great. That's not what you said first, though, sir.
He missed that.
Yeah, he did. Both of them, no. One, back then, Oh, absolutely. It was
Right.
chains, it was shackles, it was
Right.
physical bondage.
We
Now,
was
mental.
captured.
Yes.
But now we're mentally in
Now
bondage.
we're choosing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, I think that is a good segue into the second point of, we talked about awareness and knowing that things are changing and understanding where we were and our surroundings, which I love, your terminology for that. But then I think the second thing is we also do have to be freed from our own personal bondages. And you talked about that a little bit, which is the baggage. It's the things that we've held on to for years. It's the things that we have literally built relationships with that we shouldn't have. It's the things that we limit ourselves in because we don't even think that we're capable. Yeah,
Right.
I think those are some of the things that we talk about awareness. One, where are you? Like, are you telling yourself you can and cannot do it? Do you know what some of the things are that you need to be broken free from? And if not, I'm sure something has happened that's told you as an indicator, ding, 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 ding.
Right.
This right here is holding you captive.
Right.
Let's get rid of that. And so with the awareness, I love the fact that you say, what is this? What's going on? And then write it down. How do we get from the awareness of what it is, writing it down, to being free from it? I think that's the power in the process. Is being able to successfully move away from it and break free. I do agree there is a strength in that.
For me, I honestly, that's a very interesting question. And it's interesting because, that only works to the level in which you desire or are willing to walk through a process.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of times what we don't understand or what we will not admit is a lot of our actions and a lot of the things that we do are cover-ups for things that we're actually dealing with and going through.
Yes.
And we will not,
cover-up.
Right. We won't admit to it. We won't say, well, I'm buying these things here, spending this money here, going here, doing this because I was unable to do so, or I feel like my childhood suffered, or, what I'm saying? We won't say those things because we're taught to be grateful and to not complain and all that. But you have to be honest about the things that have impacted you.
Yes.
So the best way to go from, left to right is you've got to be honest. You have to be transparent, and you have to really be dedicated to your process and your growth. I tell people for every odd or strange behavior you see, there's a story. And I always tell people to start in the areas that you are the most unsuccessful in. If you are successful in business and finances and investments or whatever, but you suck in relationships, start there. Because your relationships will tell you a lot about you or your lack of. And it's hurtful. And it's a process of pain that you have to be willing to uncover. A lot of times what we want to do is take our treasure box and stuff everything in it, lock it up, store it down at the bottom of the barrels, and then put some dirt and a flower bed on top of it.
And make it smell good.
Yeah. I mean, fresh. It don't ever stink. And what I have found is that that's a terrible way to walk through your life. Because, it's like building a house, brick by brick by brick. And eventually that wall that you're building becomes so high that, it's almost impossible to tear it down from you or anyone else. And so the way that you are going to have to move through that is to be transparent with yourself and to address your issues. You cannot heal and move on from something that you refuse to address. I mean, it just can't happen.
Say it again for the people whose volume is turned down in the car or on their phones or on their iPods, or maybe they're in another room not near their device. Can you repeat that again, please?
Gladly. You cannot heal or move on from something that you refuse to address.
And can we talk about what addressing means?
Yes, we absolutely can. Because when I say addressing, I'm not just saying, oh, let me look in the mirror and say, I don't like your attitude. That is not addressing something.
Okay,
you know what I mean? That is not, just because you have said it out of your mouth loud enough for you to hear it, is not addressing it. It is really getting down to the root of what it is. I tell people our lives are like onions. Every single time that you cut into it is a different layer. And you have to continue to peel those layers back. So when I say address, I mean get down to the nitty-gritty of being transparent, being honest, and addressing that issue. And then some people will say, well, what if my issue is with my mom or my dad? There's always a way to respectfully address the situation. Especially us as adults. You are grown. And at this stage, I believe as an adult, there is virtually no excuse for you to walk around in your pain, in your pity, in your misfortune. There's no excuse, because you have to be adult enough to say, Mom, you hurt my feelings. And I understand your perspective. I understand that you did the best that you could, but that does not change the results. What we want to do is we want to address something and then excuse it at the same time.
Talk about the simultaneous act of addressing and excusing at the same time.
So, we want to, for example, and I always reference relationships because it's the easiest thing for people to identify with or understand. But the process works the same way. It's like if you're dating a man and, or a woman or whatever it is, your decision is, you're dating whoever you're dating, and they disrespect you. And, we say, well, listen, I don't appreciate the way you talk to me. I don't appreciate the tone you talk to me, but I understand because I did make you mad. Wait. Pause. Why are we addressing and excusing at the same time? Because it is either, what I find is that typically most things are black and white. When you know yourself and you love yourself, it is black and white. Now, there's always compromises. There are always things you have to sort through. There are always things you have to work through. But there are also deal breakers. And there are also things that are yes and no. You're on a job and you're working and somebody come up to you and they call you out your name. You ain't, you did call me out your name, but I understand. No, you're not. That is not what you're doing. We have to, on purpose, address our pain. We have to, on purpose, address our discomfort.
Oh my God, yes.
It has to happen because you cannot learn from it. You cannot heal from it. You cannot talk about it. You cannot teach from it. You cannot teach from a point that you have not worked through a process. It cannot happen.
It's not.
Because out of our pain is birth, our purpose and our pleasures and our desires and our, our growth. It comes out of pain. It teaches you something. If a child rides a bicycle and they ride the bicycle and they ride it too fast and they fall and they scrape their knee, they are in pain. The first thing they do is when they get up, they say, oh, I can't ride my bike this fast over these bumps. I can't do that. They have addressed it and they have learned from it. And now when they get to a passage of gravel, they will slow down. So it's the same thing in our relationships. If I'm with you and I'm going through something and I met you in the club and I'm dating you and it didn't work out right, and it's just, I got to pause and I have to say, okay, in my past, I haven't always chose the best mates in these places. I should not do that. But what we want to do is say, well, I mean, where else are they? Well, how am I going to find them? They're always, you cannot address and excuse at the same time. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So you can continue to address and excuse, address and excuse, address and excuse. However, you're never going to make progress.
Nope. Nope.
It won't happen.
You'll never become.
At all. It starts with addressing, and then it moves into our habits. So what we do is once we find out what it is and we begin to address it head on, it's all about being able to say who you are and your strengths and your weaknesses. And now we have to start dealing with our habits and putting our bumpers in place. Like for me, I am a sucker for people. I love people. I love to see them grow. I love to see them prosper. I love to see them promoted. And I will give and give and give. And I only have 2 requirements. Don't make me feel like you're taking advantage of me. And don't hurt me on purpose. That's it. That's all I got. At the moment I begin to feel those things, I have to back up and I have to pause. But because I know that this is an area of weakness for me, I have bumpers. I have people in place that I get counsel from, that I say, hey, I met so-and-so, they're going through this, and this, and this is what I want to do. And there are plenty of times where they will say, honey, no. I understand what you want to do, but you can't do that because that impacts this. Okay, now I have a sounding board and I can say, okay, that's too extreme. Let me go down here. Let me meet in the middle. But that only comes because I'm transparent with myself. I have been burned enough. I have addressed those things. And now I have to work on my habits. And if I continue to do that with everything in my life, now I become a well-rounded individual and I'm safeguarded and I'm better for me and those that I encounter.
I love that. And one of the things that I want to talk about in one of the future episodes is relationships and it being the currency of community and what it means to having good relationships. I think one of the worst things we can do while we are processing is to isolate. You have no one to talk to. You have no one keeping you accountable. You have no one checking on you and checking you to make sure you don't revert back to who you used to be. So I feel like you need those people who knew you when and see where you're going. You need those people who caught you in the middle of process and see the ascent and know where you're called to go. And then you need those people to keep you grounded and say, okay, come on, bring it down. And you need those people who help you push your dreams. Like they're always there. They're in one way, shape, or form, whether they're giving, whether they're participating, whether they're telling somebody. You need those types of people in your corner. The people who, when you say, I'm absolutely quitting, they say, no, you're going to keep on. Or when you say, I'm not sure where this is going, they have the insight to say, just try 2 more steps. You need those people or else you just become isolated and think everyone's out to get you, and it changes your mindset on people. And I think those bumpers are essential. You need community. You need valuable relationships.
But the problem is that, so many people want to deal in secret, and they are unable to have that because they walk in such guilt, such shame, such a level of perfectionism because they're unable to address their issues.
Let's talk about the people who walk in pride, though, and don't. Those are the people who think they don't need any.
Exactly. And I tell people all the time, you will never, ever, ever have a public victory of something that you haven't fully dealt with in private.
You will not ever, not even remotely close.
Greatest victories, before they're announced to the public, you will have them in private, and you have to deal with those things. You don't have a choice, because pride will teach you what you refuse to learn and accept.
That's true.
It is true. And for those people that are prideful and they refuse to address those things, it'll be short-lived, everything that they do. And it's only because you have to have a level of humility, and you have to have a part of you that says, I struggle with this, whether that is, when you go to job interviews, they always ask you, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Mm-hmm.
And typically the people that say, well, I don't think I have any weaknesses are the people that don't ever get hired.
Because we know they're lying.
Right. And not only do we know you're lying, but, the fact that we know you're lying, and then the other aspect that you refuse to see yourself.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't want to put you in a room full of people.
No.
I don't know what to expect from you. I don't know what you're going to say, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. So let's go with someone else.
I think that this has been an invaluable conversation. I think, number one, that this is just the beginning. Like, you could have this conversation for a couple of hours because
Absolutely.
There's so much in it to really unearth. And I think one of the things that you mentioned is humility and being able to say, this is who I am, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It births a level of transparency to help others. And that's what we're here to do today. So listen, I want you to tell the ladies where they can find you.
Absolutely. I always tell folks I'm not hard to find. I am on social media. I just finally started a page. For a very long time, I had my Instagram connected to my personal, my business, and they said you have to separate that. So I said fine. So I'm on Instagram as Dr. Kyla Nicole Lurry. I am on Twitter as Dr. Kyla Nicole. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, which is Kyla Nicole. My website is kylanicole.org. And my email address is inquiries@kylanicole.org or purposelylol@gmail. And I always give that one out because people say, well, I emailed your other one and I got a crazy funky message back. And I'm like, oh, you mean the one that says it's going to take me about 48 hours to get to you?
Right. That's the one we want you to get to, set expectations.
Yeah. So I always just say, well, here's this other one just in case. So I'm not difficult to find. My website has my numbers on them as well, and my email, social media. So I make sure that I'm fully accessible. I'm here for the people. What would we be without them? And I love connecting with folks. So, please, check me out. I follow back most days.
Give her 48 hours. She'll follow back.
Yeah, because, they have to stick on me to even get on social media. I am so not the social media girl because I just think it's all fake and foolishness.
Okay, well, that's a whole different. The trap of social media is a different episode.
I'm telling you. I get on there enough.
Yeah, listen, I get it. I appreciate you coming through. Ladies, Dr. Kyla is going to be back with us to do another episode to help you get your businesses together. But we want you to check her out at kylanicole.org. Amazing lady who, as you can see, pretty much does it all. Check out her website. You will see everything that she's working on. And for me, I am Kimberly Smith, the Purpose Catalyst. Thank you for joining us again at the Purpose.Power.Profit Society. I cannot wait until you hear the next episode. We have a lot coming for you. All right. Listen, I'm on Instagram at Purpose_Catalyst and Facebook at Kimberly Smith-Purpose Catalyst. All right. We will talk to you later. Bye.